So I've just spent a little time with 4 of these IEMs, and in fact my amp is still on and warm from the little bit of a listening session I did for some time in fact. So I'm just doing a quick video on this these 4 because I realized that these 4 do sit in a similar price range, and they're all, well, I do like all of them for many reasons, and some of them I don't fully, it's not 100% love that I have for them. So this video is hopefully going to give you a good idea of which set of these IEMs you want to pick up within this price range. Now on a build front, all of these do have some sort of a metal enclosure, except the Artti T10 of course, because that does have a high quality plastic on it, and it actually does look like I don't want to use the word cheap, but it is the most affordable looking of the lot because of that plastic finish. But when it comes to the overall, should I say, comfort of all of these IEMs, the Artti I'd say is way down, because I've had a lot of problems with it. In fact, right now while revisiting this, I was hoping I'd be able to figure out how to leave it in my ear. But in fact, let me show you if I can sort of untangle all of this. So the Artti T10 is it is a nice sounding set of IEMs, but I'm talking about the comfort in particular. So when I do put these on, I've never once had a proper, let's say, half an hour listening session with it. So right now, as you can see, it sort of loops over my ear like it does with most other IEMs, but these are not closing in properly. So like even when I push it in, I don't know if you can see, but when I push it in, it finds its way out. It's always pushing out. So there's no proper seal. And no amount of adjusting that I've done has, found a proper fit. I just think that maybe this protrusion over here is, it pushes against my ear here. So my ear sort of pushes it outward. So I've never really been able to, wear these for about 20 or 30 minutes and really enjoy them. I've usually had to hold them into my ears like this. Now, a friend of mine who has larger ears did try these on, and he found these to be very comfortable. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you do have larger ears, this might be a very nice set to have because on a sound front it is good fun. Moving on to the other IEMs, well, the Simgot EA500LM is quite comfortable. It's a nice small compact little set of IEMs. In fact, it does sit within my concha quite well. As you can see, it is a nice small sort of compact design. I've not really had any comfort issues with this. It is comfortable to wear. The same goes for the Simgot EW300, which is right here. Both of these have like a chrome finish. They're both metal. So if you can hear that, both are cool when you put them into your ear. So I do know of some people who don't like that cold sort of sensation when they wear these, but that's something to keep in mind. Both of these are metal finish. They do look nice. They do look sleek. They do have a little bit of weight to them. They're both very comfortable to wear. In fact, the EW300 is a tiny bit sort of slimmer, so it does sort of fit slightly further into my ear very comfortably within my concha. And moving on to the Kefine Delci, well, this one I find to be, for me at least, the most comfortable set of in-ear monitors from this lot. I should have thought this through. Dealing with these cables is not easy. But yeah, this set of IEMs, for me, it does sit extremely comfortably because these, in fact, I think they're just right, the overall shape and design of them, because they sort of just sit behind this little pocket within the concha, and it's held very securely. It feels very firm, very comfortable. I found these to be the most comfortable earphones for me, especially over longer listening sessions. So if you're looking for comfort and you have, I'd say, maybe medium-sized ears, I'd say I've got medium-sized ears, not really large or small. This has not caused me any discomfort. For that matter, none of these have caused any discomfort. But the Kefine is definitely the most comfortable of the lot. Now, all of these do come with very nice cables, and they also come with neat carrying cases. So you do get this kind of case, a leather case with a zip from Simgot for both of the IEMs. Both are practically identical. This is the little case you get with the Artti, which is quite neat. It's got a sort of few pouches on the inside that you can slot everything into, where I've kept all the ear tips and whatever else. It is a nice little fabric case. It's not like a leatherette case like Simgot has. And this is the Kefine case. It is also sort of like a leather looking finish, and it does have this little sort of section where you can put the ear tips inside. So all of these, they are at par when it comes to their overall fit, finish, and the things you get in the box. But the main difference is when you start listening to them back to back. So on a sound front, just to make sure there was no bottlenecking, I've not plugged these into any portable dongle DAC. I've plugged these into my desktop setup. I'm using a Topping D50S DAC that is feeding a shit layer 2 tube amp. So it's definitely overkill for these IEMs. But overall, when it does come to their volume, I've heard all of these more or less at a similar volume output. I don't remember their impedances offhand, but if you do want to see my in-depth reviews of all these, I'll leave them down in the description below. I go into a lot more detail in those videos because they are independent reviews for these IEMs. But these all kind of sat at the same place with the amp output. Soundstage wise, I'd say a lot of them are very similar because I mean they are in a similar price range. Some of these have venting ports, so you do get a wide expanse compared to more affordable IEMs, of course. But when it comes to the imaging in particular, here's where you start seeing the differences between them. The Artti T10 does have a very technical approach towards every bit of music you play. In fact, any kind of music that you play that has any bit of flaws, if it's clipped in the mix or in the recording, or if it's a compressed track, it's going to really bleed through with the Artti T10. The next one that is also very resolute is the EW300 because that I think also has a planar driver. So it is also second to the Artti when it comes to pointing out flaws and technicalities. And then after that, well, I'd say is the Kefine Delci, and the least of my favorite of this lot, as much as I love Simgot, is the EA500LM. This is the one set of IEMs that I just think they just got it wrong on multiple fronts. Moving on to the timbre or timbre, whatever it is you do want to call it. I do like talking about it in this price range because I think it's here where things start getting much truer. So when it comes to that in particular, I really feel that the EA500LM was like a swing and a miss. Simgot seems to have not really gone for a trueness in its overall delivery. It just seems slightly off, especially if you're a musician who's always with guitars and acoustic instruments, pianos, wood instruments, wind instruments, anything acoustic really. If you are used to listening to that up that close, the EA500LM is going to seem a little off. It's a little confused when it comes to its overall presentation. And then the next one I'd say is the Artti T10. I mean, as great as it is with technicalities, the trueness of its overall delivery is not as real as I'd like it to be, but not that it's not an enjoyable set to listen to. I mean, even the 500LM is fun to listen to. But after that, I'd say the second over here, I'd give to the EW300. Now, it is technical, yes, when it comes to its imaging, but its timbre is, it is leaning towards being a little more true than the other two IEMs that I've mentioned already. But again, it's not quite there. It's kind of a little on the thinner sounding approach when it comes to trying to be true. But I'd say the truest sounding set of IEMs over here has to go to the Kefine. The Kefine Delci is a very, very smooth sounding set of IEMs, especially when it comes to just proper true acoustic instruments. So if you're listening to any classical music, jazz, blues, stuff that's properly recorded well, this leans a lot more towards being much truer than the other three. And I'm not going to get into too much detail about the details of highs and mids and lows right now. If you really do want to see how I've broken them down, you can head on over to the independent reviews of these. I'll say this, when it comes to the overall enjoyment of these IEMs, while sitting and doing a whole lot of A/B testing between these four, I listened to the T10 the least for various reasons. One was it didn't fit me properly, and two is it just didn't sound as true as I'd like it to. It is a nice sounding set of IEMs, especially if you're into technicalities. If you listen to all sorts of, say, acoustic music for that matter, where you want to hear every single detail, or if you're trying to pick up on something and learn something on a guitar or a piano, it's going to really highlight every single detail with sharp edges, so you can really focus in on a lot of stuff. The 500LM, again, because it doesn't have that trueness, I wanted to put it aside. It wasn't too enjoyable for me. The two sets of IEMs that I really liked was the EW300 and the Kefine Delci, because they just sound a lot more fun. So I did a lot more A/B testing between these two. So I already have found my two favorites in this price segment. And so the main differences between the two is when it comes to a lot of the mid-range, the EW300 is a little bit thinner. It's almost like you're listening to running water, whereas the Kefine handles it with in a sense like you're you're dealing with a soup instead of a water. So they're both liquids, but the soup is a little bit thicker. It's got a little more character to it. So the mids from the Kefine sound a lot more rounded. It's a lot warmer sounding than that of the EW300. Now, the EW300 I'd say is not lacking in the sense it's not that you're going to miss something. It is a fun listen, but it just sounds thin, especially when you do the A/B testing between the two. When it comes to the higher frequencies, the Kefine, although a warm sounding IEM, does manage to push through a good amount of detail and sparkle in the high frequency region. But if you're talking about the high frequencies where things are really sparkly and you like triangle hits and reverb bouncing off walls, the EW300 is much richer in that region. Moving on to the bass, the EW300 is a lot of fun. It does have multiple drivers. So one is dedicated to lower frequencies. It's got a sort of tighter, better posture in the lower frequencies than the Kefine. It is a little more tightly presented compared to the Kefine, but the Kefine is sort of it's not that it's bloated or sort of it's not limp sounding at all. It is a fun, full sounding lower frequency, and I think it really adds to genres like classical, anything acoustic, jazz, blues, because you don't really need to tweak that lower frequency, because for those genres, it's got a good amount of roundedness in the low frequency. The minute you start playing heavier music, that's electronic dance music or anything heavy in general, the EW300 has that tighter response. It is a bit better structured. The Kefine can be, it's a little too out of control compared to the EW300. But overall, on the sound front, if you ask me what my take is, I'm leaning more towards the Kefine because of the kind of genres of music I listen to. In fact, if you are somebody who's looking to buy two sets of IEMs in this price range, I'd say the EW300 compared to, at least I'm talking about the ones that I have, the EW300 and the Kefine Delci are two great performers in this price range, especially if you want naturality, if you want crispness in the highs, if you want good, well-detailed mids, and you want well-defined bass. These are the two IEMs that I really do prefer in this entire comparison. So I don't know the prices of these IEMs offhand, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of figure it out and put the text over here to show all the prices of all these IEMs so you can decide which one suits you best on a price front. And I will leave the links down in the description below, along with my in-depth reviews of these IEMs. So if you really do want to get to know them a little bit more, you can watch those in-depth reviews that I have put up. So there you have it. That's my very quick comparison of these four IEMs. It was fun sitting with them and really seeing the major differences between all of these IEMs. They're all very good performers. I have liked each and every one of them on different fronts. I paired them with different kind of genres of music or different activities. Each of them has their own flavor in sound, so to say. I wouldn't say one is bad or one is good, but yeah, of course, I do lean more towards the EW300 and the Kefine Delci for most of my music. So there you have it. That's been my comparison, and I do hope that I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. And if you would like to support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.